Hey guys, if you're an artist, have you ever felt guilty when you ever taken a break from the arts? If you've put the sketchbook down for a while, does that feeling like you're falling behind set in? Well, if that's true, then this is the video for you. Because here's the truth, burnout doesn't care how much you love your art, and that's a huge part of the topic for today's video. I want to break down how the whole grind now, rest later sort of mindset is failing for many creative people. And so what I want to do is really get into the specifics of what I do to stay healthy, to stay inspired, and to keep motivated. And honestly, part of this problem is cultural. It's just too often artists get slapped with a lot of unfair labels that we are lazy, that we are unfocused, or that we don't have a real job, and that pressure alone constantly makes us feel like we have to prove our worth through non-stop output. But yeah, I feel like there is clearly a better way to do this. A lot of it is work-life balance. So yeah, let's get into this. I got a lot to say. So let's start off this video by addressing the problem directly. This whole grind culture thing. This unspoken badge of honor in creative circles to outwork the person next to you. Work late, work all night, sleep very little, sleep all day, never stop sketching, right? No days off. Well, you know what? I think that's all a load of shit, and personally, none of that has ever worked really well for me. I learned this really quick when I graduated college, and I just could not keep up with anything trying to be creative and be successful with that sort of mindset. And who's to blame a lot of young creatives out there nowadays that feel that way? It's all over social media. It's getting posted everywhere on Facebook, on Twitter, on X. And that message is very universal in what it's trying to portray. And that is, if you're creative and you are not working, then you are absolutely falling behind. Now, if you are a certain type of worker, and if you are young, and if you do have all the physical health and time on your side, I do feel there are a few individuals that actually kind of works for. But I think for a lot of us kind of regular people, regular creatives, can I say that? I don't feel like that is the way. Because there is a cost to this, and that is burnout absolutely sneaks in, and where your passion and creativity sort to dry up, and it begins to be replaced with overwhelming feelings of burden, of heaviness. It absolutely makes us impaired when it comes to creativity. Like, we cannot get anything out. And that, folks, is the trap. We're programmed almost in a way to think like, okay, if I just pull another all-nighter, if I do this for another week, then everything's going to be all right. It's going to work out. Hey, because I love art. I am passionate about this. So let's just keep on going. It's okay. And the reality is it takes a toll physically, emotionally, on a lot of us. Your brain needs downtime to stay motivated, to stay energized, to spark new ideas. It can't always go on grind mode. And truthfully, I know over the years, most of my best ideas absolutely come to me, and they happen when I'm not here in this office, when I'm not at this desk. It's when I'm doing something very unrelated elsewhere. And so now I want to get into the very specifics about how I handle work-life balance. And I'm going to get very specifics. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not your doctor, but I do want to talk about what I do for fitness, what I do for routines, and I'm going to show all the data for all of that. All right, so I want to just first start this off by talking about the whole work-life balance thing, because there's a lot of comparisons, there's a lot of similarities that I think an individual would need to be, successful in almost anything. And it's always about balance, but it's about sustainability. What can you do day in, day out, whether that's a physical goal that you want to hit, like, getting, in the gym every day, whether it's working for a client for over a year on the same project, where the point you're like, yeah, you don't want to do this anymore, it feels like a grind. That's pretty realistic if you're working in the creative industry. But either way, there's a lot of similarities. So the major kind of categories that I try to achieve balance in my own life is scheduled breaks versus scheduled time to work. A big trap a lot of folks do is just schedule time to work and they're not actively thinking about breaks. And I'm not just talking about, okay, I'm going to go 5 days on and 2 days off. More specifically, I like to schedule breaks all throughout my day so I'm never sitting with my ass in this chair for too long. So you have to balance scheduled breaks with scheduled time to work if you are stationary at your job or when you're creative in general. Because I know there's some expressive individuals out there that get on trampolines or hang on zip lines and just start throwing paint all over a room. I'm not talking about those individuals. Talking about like the regular kind of production artists here. So just generally speaking in regards to balancing time, things that I do are essentially considered time blocking. So I plan ahead, I prioritize, and I do have unplanned parts of my day. So yes, we're moving off that last note of like, okay, schedule time off, but also very planned and prioritized parts of your day, and then parts of the day where you can kind of just let anything go on, anything that can kind of happen. And essentially that's how I make it work at my core day in and day out, just being flexible and adaptive with my schedule. It keeps that momentum going. So lots of unplanned time, balance that out with strong bursts of strict regimens. Going to the gym every morning is a strict regimen. I try to eat clean 5 days per week or 2 meals per day versus having 2 fully cheat days or one sort of cheat mealish, every kind of day, right? It's all about whatever you need to do to make it sustainable for the long term. And it always comes back to having something balanced. Another weird kind of part of this that I've learned about myself over the years is the designated balance of spaces. So for example, this is my work area. I also can't make it my area that I play games in. I also can't make it my area that I worked out in because I tried to do all this during the COVID years and it didn't work. I got a lot fatter. I became heavily distracted. I am definitely a person that needs a designated space per activity because then I just start thinking about the other things that I should be doing or could be doing in this space and it detrimentally impaired. It really hurt my productivity and my regiments when I try to do too much in too little or an overcrowded sort of space. So when it comes to your physical health, when it comes to my physical health, I find that a lot of us, just like in creativity, just like in art, we have to set clear, realistic goals. This is important, through and through, as it's going to build the foundation, right, for all our forward-moving momentum. So let's say physically you want to improve yourself. If you don't want to be that lazy artist stereotype, just decide, like I was just discussing, do you want to be stronger? Do you want to be faster? Do you want to lose weight? Or do you just want to get better at keeping things simple, right? Whatever the case is. But I do recommend if you are inexperienced in a gym or have neglected loads of physical activity for many years at this point, just start off very, very slow and very, very gradual. Remember that this does not have to be a sprint, and the longer you can keep it going, it'll be the better. So now, very specifically, what you're going to want to do if you have any kind of physical goal is find your maintenance calories. This is going to be something that's based off your age, your weight, your height, and your activity level. For example, my maintenance calorie intake, right now is about 2,500. I am 41 years old. I am on average about 170 pounds. I'm a guy, and I am 5 feet 10 inches as a point of reference. All right, very average everything essentially. And so what this number is, it's essentially my baseline. If I eat around that amount of calories, I'm not going to get thinner. I'm not going to get too much stronger, right? I'm going to stay relatively to that size. Now, if I want to get lean, like I do here in the summer months, because I am not lean all year round, I tend to get a lot thicker and bulk up in the winter. If I want to get lean, I'm going to eat around 2,300 calories or less, depending on how fast I want to do it. Of course, the heavier of a caloric deficit you go in, the harder it is to maintain, because it is tough. It is tough if you are trying to lose a lot of weight and you're just skimming calories. That is very tough. Like in the winter, if I do want to bulk up, if I want to try to gain muscle mass, I'm going to eat 2,600 calories to 3,000. Like I'm see my pictures here in December, like I'm per day sort of diet, right? Quite a lot thicker. So basically, yeah, you have to eat the estimated number of calories, if you've never done this before, that you want to do, and just track it for like 2 weeks. I personally use MyFitnessPal. That's what works for me. It's free, or some sort of chronometer, right? And you got to weigh yourself every day and track basically your calories. And then just look at your weekly averages. Then just eat less or eat more and see what's going to gradually happen based off your average activity level and what you're eating. That's how you're going to get your baseline level of activities. Yes, it is work. But like anything, if you want to achieve it, you got to just put in the time and do it. It's not hard. It's just something you have to kind of do. Now, in the summer months, I get absolutely obsessive with physical activity because it counteracts the winter side of me. In the winter, from like December, January, and February, those 3 months, I don't do shit. I don't do anything. I barely walk. I turn into a slug. So on the other side of the calendar, I absolutely combat that, in basically May, June, July, by going overboard. I'm not recommending anyone else to go overboard to the levels that I do, especially too if you're a beginner with anything, but I really do like it. I've got to the point where I've convinced myself that I like it, at least. So I go intense. You don't have to go that intense. So like in July and June, for example, my most intense months when I'm trying to get shredded or cut, I'm averaging basically, 2,000, 100 calories per day. And that's the trick, is, of course, to measure everything. What's measured is improved. And then, of course, I'm trying to work on the quality of food, right? So it's all about the type of food and the proportion, right? The amount of food you want to make. Not all food is made equally. 2,000 calories of McDonald's is not the same of 2,000 calories of chicken, rice, broccoli, and like a banana, right? Not the same at all, right? The gist of it is, if you move a lot, you're going to burn more, and the more you burn, the more you can probably eat and get away with, and still look good and still feel good. So if you're not moving at all, you're going to probably want to eat less if you want to get thinner or whatever, again, like whatever the goal is here. So macro-wise, this stuff's really important. I've worked out for years, and I never really looked or felt too much different till I paid attention to my macros, right? And when I say macros, this is referring to the proportional breakdown of the types of food that I eat, whether that's a fat, a protein, or a carbohydrate. So my ideal sort of day when I'm trying to look good and feel good, right, and my summer sort of sprint here of health is 180 grams of protein. So you basically want to eat the amount of protein for your targeted body weight. You want to be really strong, probably eat 200 grams of protein a day. But if you're just trying to get lean and mean, you could probably do like 160. And I do anywhere from 100 to 200 grams of carbs. Again, depending on the amount of steps I will intake on a day. But I find like I can get really good results just hovering around 200 grams of carbs, basically. And then about 60 grams of fat. So I can eat a lot of foods and a variety of foods. As long as I'm hitting like those proportional breakdowns, that's the most important part. And if you do that consistently, I found that if I can do that, over, let's say 16 weeks, I can go from like being like in my chubby sort of winter mode, and I can slim down over those 4 months pretty well. And now I've done that for like 3 years. So yeah, pay attention to the macros if you're working out and if you're exercising and you're not seeing a difference. You got to track it and you got to measure these things. And if we were to simplify all of this, I like to think of it as I basically have 500 calories to spend on breakfast, 500 for lunch, 500 for dinner, 500 on snacks. But honestly, most of my dinners and my lunch go well under 500, so I just allocate those calories to extra snacks throughout the day. I just snack all day long. I'm really good at snacking, and I embrace that. But in terms of effective habits that I do and that I would highly recommend is to meal plan, meal prep ahead of time. Like Sunday, I'm prepping my food and organizing it, right? Splitting it into containers for the week. So everything is measured, everything is laid out. And the trick is like, I don't have to think about it. Like I just have to get up. I'm probably going to go to the gym, but I know what I'm going to have for breakfast. I probably know what I'm going to have for lunch. And then I'll talk to the family and wing dinner. Like I said, some of it's very, very planned. Other things I leave a little more open. And I just can't iterate enough on how important it is to like automate your way of thinking and your own sort of process with your habits, right? Because that's all I've done with all of this is I've made it very sustainable habits for myself to the point where I don't have to think about it all. I just get in there and I just kind of do it. I go. Because if I do stop, if I do overthink it, if I just think about it, I'm going to slow down and I'll say, do I need to do this today, right? I start making excuses up to like, I should be doing this or that. So I just try to go into automation as much as I can. Now, routine-wise, I average on a day, I think I do about 90 minutes, right? That's 5 to 6 days a week. So like I said earlier, that's going to be a combination of, and usually every day it's going to be like 30 minutes of running, 30 minutes of lifting, or like 40 minutes of lifting, or 40 minutes of running or walking. It's usually something along those lines. And again, in my better half of the year on my schedule, I'm getting 13 to 16K steps a day, as you can kind of see up here on screen. And because that's balanced out. The latter half of the year there, I'm not moving anywhere near as much as that. So it works out. And the trick of it is that, what I do to kind of get, in this kind of shape and in this kind of conditioning is that I essentially work out every muscle group 2 times per week. And it is that simple. So that means, what are the big kind of categories of muscle groups for working out if you've never looked into it? You got your arms, basically your chest and back, your core, and then your legs. You just hit all those like twice a week, or if you've never gone, just once a week, right? Like I said, I'm way more intense on the spectrum when it comes to workouts and stuff. So you could obviously just do those once a week, and that would be a great start. Absolutely be a great start. The specific routine does not matter. There's routines for everything. I think as long as you have a plan, like, okay, this is an arm day, this is a chest day, this is a back day, or you could combine it. I often combine it. So I'm going to do I'm going to do chest and back. I'm going to do arms and core. Then I'm going to do legs. Then I'm going to do arms and core. Then, right, like as long as you have a plan, then you can literally look up on YouTube or a few channels that I'll recommend here. You could just grab routines and exercise plans based on that. A very common term you might want to look at is push-pull splits, because these groups of exercises, basically that I do, you have to think about what you're doing in the gym. You're really only pushing stuff, in like literally every direction, or you're pulling it. Right? So like that's why it's often called a push-pull split. But, you do that, like I said, once or twice per muscle group a week, you'll be in great shape. I'm going to have a list of recommended channels that I personally like in the description. So, like I said at the beginning, start with something easy. This could be something like a 15-minute walk. Leave your phone, leave your iPad, whatever it is, at home. Just embrace yourself wherever you can walk. Your brain is going to get all fired up. I promise, right? These breaks are not a wasted time. They're when, at least my personal best ideas are going to show up, right? Your brain is still working in the background, even though your hand isn't constantly in motion. Now, if we're talking about some little things that you could do while you're working, just stretching while you work is great. Maybe if you're spending like an hour rendering or blendering or just just staring at some loading bar on your screen, right? That pops up. Absolutely just stretch the wrists, roll them around, stand up, do 10 push-ups, on the floor, by your chair, whatever you can while your file saves. These little things are like those small things that I still do, honestly, on, through the winter and everything, and I find them immensely helpful. They're going to get your blood circulation going as well. So guys, thank you for watching if you made it here to the end. Remember, the goal isn't to just produce nonstop and just work. It's to be able to build yourself a schedule and to be self-aware enough with your own habits, with your own self, to make a schedule, to make a routine that is ultimately just sustainable for yourself, both creatively, both physically, because you want to stay in it for the long term. And I'd be willing to bet that your best work is going to come from that version of yourself that's well rested, that's recharged, and that has the energy and the capacity to kind of seize the day. I mean, I just can't count how many times I thought I'd pull an all-nighter, work on something, really get into the flow of it, till 2 a.m., 3 a.m. even, and just wake up the next day and look at the work that I did and like, that is shit. Wait, what were you thinking? It's like, I was tired. Of course, I'm not going to make good decisions. I'm not going to make good creative decisions when I'm tired. So whenever your body's tired, and that's part of it, just listen to it, right? Take a step back, take a break. It is okay. I'm giving you permission, all right? But guys, let me know what thoughts you have, what tips you have to maintain creativity, and what you're going to do, and what you do, of course, to stay creatively healthy as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts below. Take care.